everybody, and welcome back. I'm Matthew Boyle from LanguageCardGames.com, where we believe if you can play cards, you can learn languages. And in today's video, we're going to be talking a little bit about what I have learned with regards to memory and spaced repetition from John Medina's book, Brain Rules. I'm not really going to review this book in this video, but suffice it to say, I think this is a great overview for how the brain works best. You can see the subtitle there, 12 Principles for Surviving and Thriving at Work, Home, and School. But before I jump into exactly what I want to talk about today, which is the spaced repetition and memory, I want to warmly welcome you and subscribe to this channel because we often talk about these kinds of topics, and I have a playlist with the most videos about spaced repetition, the Lightner box, flashcards here on YouTube. So thank you very much in advance for all your support too. Now let's jump in. There's a chapter in this book on memory, and part of that chapter is about spaced repetition. So the idea behind spaced repetition is that it's better not to try to cram all the information you want to remember into your mind at one time and then never look at it again. You'll probably lose it. There's a forgetting curve. But through spaced repetition, you will review that information every so often. And in that way, you're kind of repeatedly telling your brain, this is important, you should hold on to it. This is important, you should hold on to it. And that is the best way to keep it in your memory for the long term. And I've seen this has worked really well for me with flashcards and learning Mandarin Chinese, because I'm able to pull out some of those flashcards that I have completely graduated and finished. They have gone through that spaced repetition system for many weeks or months, and then after many months of not seeing them, I can pull out some obscure random vocabulary and flashcards, and I know the back of it, so I know that's working really well for me. So what exactly did I pull out from John Medina's writing on spaced repetition and memory? Well, the first point is that memories may not be fixed at the initial moment of learning, but that repetition doled out in specifically timed intervals is the fixative. This is something that German researcher Hermann Ebbinghaus figured out. And he is someone who created and popularized the notion of the forgetting curve, and how spaced repetition helps you to slow the degrading nature of that curve over time. The second point has to do with how we study. This is an important subject for a lot of us who have to take tests, and especially for students. We're often caught in that situation of cramming at the last moment. And I think generally we all know and agree that that's not good for us. We're just not motivated to study that particular information and content, so we wait till the last minute, cram as much in as possible, and then after the test we forget it. So obviously that's horrible, but it's the way things are for a lot of people. But in the second point I want to share with you today, Medina shares something that Harvard psychology professor Dan Schechter wrote. He wrote, if you want to study for a test you will be taking in a week's time and are able to go through the material, say, 10 times, then it's better to space out those 10 repetitions rather than squeeze them all together. In my most recent experience, I can tell you that the spaced repetition of some content I had to learn was really effective for me. I had to give a speech to a graduating class, and I only had a set amount of time. I think I had like maybe 2 or 3 weeks to get ready, and the speech was supposed to be about 3 to 5 minutes. So I was agonizing over it a little bit. I certainly didn't want to get up on the stage and forget what I was supposed to say, but I had practiced with spaced repetition for so long with my language flashcards that I knew that could work for me with regards to the speech. So what I did was I wrote out my speech, and I practiced giving that speech at spaced intervals, usually every morning or every night, for however many days I had. And that worked really well, and it helped me not forget anything when I got up there on the stage that day. Third point, scientists are not yet sure which time intervals supply all the magic. I wanted to share this point with you today because I think it speaks to the debate and the discussion going online that some people want to know, well, can I make up my own spaced repetition calendar? I think you absolutely can. There's no one calendar out there that we all must subscribe to. So go ahead and design the one that works best for you. John Medina closes the chapter with something that was fascinating to me. He recommends that this philosophy of spaced repetition be employed in schools. So as we know, what happens a lot of the time in school is that we're subject to this constant stream of information. We're expected to remember as much as we can. Sometimes we've only encountered that information once, and then we just review it once before a test, and then after the test we never encounter it again. We're never expected to remember it again. So he recommends in this book that the subjects be repeated in spaced intervals and kind of interleaved with each other. So I really think that can work well for education, and I also think it works really well with the games. If we think about how the language card games I've been sharing on this channel work, they also operate on this kind of spaced interval system. And I noticed that every few days when I pull out, say, Language Guardians or one of the other games again to play with people, and some of the vocabulary from the last game is coming back up, and I'm trying to think of words that can fit the categories on these cards, some of which I might have used before, maybe some not, maybe some are new. It's kind of activating that same philosophy of spaced repetition to get results. So I hope you really enjoyed today's video. If you did, please don't forget to like and subscribe so you can support this channel and find your way back. That's it for today's video. I'll see you back here next time. Bye-bye for now.